Fantasy Football Show.
Hello everybody and welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around Fantasy Premier League. My name's Serge.
And my name's Cole Pilkington. I'm an idiot in FPL.
Apparently someone put a tweet of your face out with Cole Pilkington or something.
Thank you, Rob Pick. Yep, cheers. Apparently I look like Cole Pilkington.
Nah, I'd say Cole Pilkington's head is quite a bit rounder than yours.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, yours is more oval, let's say.
Okay, thanks.
So where should we start?
We should start with the fact that I didn't buy Mohamed Salah.
And then you said with the Salah brace and the balls up with your team has completely killed your interest in the FPL season. If this were the bookies, they'd be paying out now. They'd just pay out, wouldn't they? They'd be like, this is done.
Well, what are they paying out on? Other than Liverpool?
No, I mean, in a hypothetical world, if you've given up, you may as well cough up then.
Oh, what, the money to you?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, what's the difference between us?
40-something points
40-something. Please look accurately and tell me the difference in points between us, Suj. Because Suj now has a large lead over myself, having used the triple captainship on Trent in game week 24.
45. Exactly 45
45 points.
Correct.
So at the start of every season, Suj promises me £50 because I always beat him.
We make a bet for £50.
We make a bet.
And before, it's not the start of every season because we've only done it once.
Yeah.
So there's not like a massive legacy history here.
So I'll make the same offer that I made at the start of the season.
Correct.
Double it.
No.
You got a 45-point lead. Let's go £100.
You had a 45-point lead.
Well, I thought you were giving it the big one about paying out.
Yeah, well, you the one that tweeted, I've lost interest. I've never, throughout the season so far, tweeted, I've given up.
So we've got new target. Catch fucking Suj.
Yeah, go for it. If anybody listened to the live stream that you did on Friday, you said in that live stream that your entire purpose was to beat me. So where are we worried? In game week 10, I hit my rock bottom, 2.2. I'm having a look.
Million.
Sorry, no, it wasn't then. It was game week 9, 2.13 million. And since then, that's how many game weeks? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So about 16, 17 game weeks. I've had 4 red arrows, but all the rest have been green to 486k.
Well done.
But it's been slow and steady. Do you know what I mean? It's not been crazy. But I saw somebody in the double game week that had a 600k rank rise just then. So I think, obviously, it's a tongue-in-cheek tweet, isn't it, really? You're still going to have to keep going.
Yeah, no, it is. All I mean by that is in terms of my personal goals at the start of the season, trying to beat personal bests and that, it's gone.
It's going to be really hard.
The whole situation with anyone who followed my Twitter account, my team not saving, which, look, it's cost me 4 points. It is what it is. It's done. It's finished. The only reason I actually tweeted it out at all was because having taken a -4, of which Jamal Lascelles was part of, good old Big Tasty himself, I could not have been facing the tweets if Lascelles had scored. With me tweeting out my team with Jamal Lascelles in it, and then everyone going, yeah, Big Tasty,
and then not getting those points.
Actually, guys, because my team didn't save, he's third on my bench. So look, I lost out on 4 points. It is what it is. We move on.
Indeed. This game week was a funny one. I scored 58 points, which is a decent score in any normal game week. What was the game week average? 47. So beat it by 11 points.
How many points did you get?
58, mate.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's all right.
Only 3 returns.
Yeah, Salah, captain, probably Trent and Robbo. I suppose that's it. Yeah.
Only 3 returns. So in the grand scheme of things, feels like a weird old weekend to get 58. So I suppose the people that were on Twitter with the 65, 70s, 75s, 80s, of which there were quite a few, would have just had 1 or 2 other returners really this week.
Lots of people had good ranks this week and only had like 3 or 4 returners. Loads.
The Yerry Mina captainers?
No, I mean, probably from template-ish if you want, but it's people who've had a couple of others somewhere else. I don't know, like a Heung-min Son, for example.
Yeah.
Perhaps a clean sheet here or there, for example, with Sheffield United, maybe like a Henderson in goal. So yeah, there's a few people have had some others as well. Majority of people have missed, and the majority of people have had a half decent week with Salah's captaincy.
Yep.
So shout out to the boys at Hub, including our Villa correspondent Adam Hopcroft, did a brilliant stream Saturday 3:00, which I tuned into, and progressively got worse because I'm sitting there after an hour and I'm thinking I've taken this massive gamble not to go for Salah, even though I know, and I'd said on Final Plan, said on my stream, it's obvious he's the best captaincy this weekend. I decided to take a different route, and I'm sitting there with an hour gone thinking, fucking hell, I'm dodging it here.
Yeah.
Keep hearing Southampton are having chances, even once it went 1-0.
Yeah.
Obviously, there was the claim for the Ings penalty at 0-0. We're thinking, geez, he's going to blank here, isn't he?
Yeah.
Of course he isn't, because the game lasts 90 minutes.
I didn't. I only checked at half time, and obviously Salah had no returns then. A couple of assists for Firmino. Right, I was thinking, and then I didn't check again till the end of the game because I was tearing my hair out or whatever I was doing at the London Stadium. But to come out and see 2 goals was tidy for Mo Salah, and now he's literally. As much as I said on Tottenham, which if people listen to tomorrow, they'll hear about captaining a City asset against West Ham with a pinch of salt because we're that bad. I think keeping the armband on Mo Salah is just so logical at the moment.
It absolutely is.
We may hear more news about Mane and his imminent return or not, but it was one of those, wasn't it? One of those game weeks.
Yeah, look, if I'd have been on Mohamed Salah going into game week 24 rather than Sadio Mane, it'd be about 300k now rather than 1 million. It's what it is. It's cost me to the tune of 70 odd points, basically.
Yeah.
So, however, other than the fact I don't have Mo Salah, and still, unless there is confirmation that Sadio Mane definitely won't make the Norwich fixture, I'm sticking with Mane. I'm not going for Salah. I'm really happy with the team I've got now, bar the fact I probably need to change John Lundstrom. I mean, the way I've got it set up, bust at the moment, I've got James Maddison first sub next game week. So if Mane don't make it, it's crack on. I'm ready to go now. I feel like I'm covered in a really great position for blanks. We've got a question on Free Hit 31 we want to cover off in the Twitter questions just to look at potential alternative for Free Hit. I'm in a good position with my team, in spite of the fact I've had a massive drop-off.
Should we go through some of these games?
Yes, let's
Before
do that.
we do, a few of our listeners who follow us on Twitter will understand, and I understand this does not translate well into audio in any way, shape or form, but we have a Ledley King and a Paolo Di Canio sitting on the desk.
We do.
Yeah. If you are listening on the audio, you know these kind of, are they called bobbleheads? I don't know if they're called bobbleheads or whatever. These little figurines of players,
tiny little miniature fuckers. Yes,
Ledley King and Paolo Di Canio that were a very kind gift from Danny at FPL Sick of It.
That's correct, yeah.
Correct. From Singapore, who wrote us a really kind letter and sent these guys to us all the way from Singapore.
Brilliant.
Favourite thing he wrote about was how Julian Dix's bobblehead head was deformed and disfigured. It's like, have you ever seen the real man?
He wrote a brilliant letter. He even managed to get half pregnant into it as well.
Exactly.
Fantastic.
If you want to read his kind words, then they're on Twitter. James tweeted the image.
You can look through my timeline.
Danny, we appreciate you, and these guys are going to be staying on the table for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, until we do Planet EFL next year, in which case only Di Canio will be there.
Until Julian Dix's bobblehead comes and breaks someone's legs by mistake, probably. You could imagine him doing that. So yeah, there we go. Ledley and Paolo. Leicester 2, Chelsea 2 was the early kickoff.
It was.
I mean, Rudiger brace.
Yeah, didn't see that one coming.
All I can say is that Mason Mount has been lingering in my Sky Fantasy Football team for far too long.
And mine.
God praise Mason Mount, because the 2 assists came in very, very handy.
He's now getting bombed out on that overhaul, though.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. He's gone, but I think I'll take those 8 points and run. But this is FPL, not Sky FF. So goal for Chilwell, Harvey Barnes, couple of assists for Tielemans, who's been quiet but sits in our zombie team very nicely.
Yeah.
I don't know what to make here now. Everybody's getting rid of their Leicester defenders potentially, and Soyuncu. Maddison now raising question marks. What to do with Vardy? Is either make way for an Aubameyang or an Aguero. Leicester are not what you'd consider to be flavour of the month right now.
No, they're absolutely not. Just looking at James Maddison's numbers since the 4-1 win at Aston Villa in game week 16, only one attack in return. He started all but one of those last 8 fixtures. That's not enough, even at still a respectable 7.6. I have no intention of coming off. They've got a couple of difficult fixtures, obviously Wolves and Man City before. We now know they will play in game week 28 against Norwich. I think they walk into Aston Villa afterwards as well. So for the moment, Maddison and Vardy stay for me. They're obviously both on the full. I'll settle for that. That's okay. Harvey Barnes, I think your phone's ringing, Suj. Harvey Barnes will begin to attract interest now at 5.9 million, up to 87 FPL points. And showing a bit of form. That's now 3 goals and assists in the last 3 games for FPL returns of 7, 7 and 12 for 26 from the last 3 game weeks. I spoke a couple of weeks ago, I think it was after you played them.
Yep.
And I mentioned, I was not comparing him to Gareth Bale. I said that the way he strides reminds me of Gareth Bale. And I think there's a few now who mentioned what I'd said about him being an outside shot for the England squad. Good link to this morning's People's Poll if you want to catch up on that and have a listen about our thoughts on the England squad. I don't think it's a go and buy list, but I'm all right with Vardy, Maddison. It's all right. I'm in a position now where I've got Vardy, Ings, Jimenez, and I'm like, yeah, do you know what, boys? Crack on. You'll have weekends like this week where you're all going to blank, and the next game week you might all score.
Could all return.
Yeah, the 3 of them are very consistent, and I think it's okay. Look, Vardy had a great chance early on in the game, which Caballero scored. Obviously, the choice of Caballero...
Scored or saved?
Saved, did I say scored?
Scored, yeah.
Sorry, saved.
Yeah.
The selection
dropped, eh?
The selection of Caballero was interesting. He's 4.8 million. There's a suggestion in some of the tabloids, I think naturally over the last 24 hours or so, that Frank Lampard will be looking for a new goalkeeper. Kepa's had a shocking season.
I mean, he's the most expensive goalkeeper in the world.
His save percentage, that's mad.
Not that means
His
anything
save
nowadays.
percentage is shocking.
Really?
And I feel like he's capable of the incredible, but for a side that's pushing for top 4, he's not showing the form that's worthy of that at the moment. We must remember he's still quite young, and I think it's a case of, look, take him out the firing line, give him a kick up the arse and say, look, you've got to be better. And I would expect him to be back in that team soon. So I wouldn't be considering Willy Caballero even at a very interesting 4.8, because in spite of Chelsea's league position, defensively, they are very inconsistent.
Rubbish.
I'd be more interested if I did want to look at Chelsea's Andreas Christensen at 4.9 million, who's now played 90 minutes in 5 consecutively, if you include the FA Cup fixtures. Well, I'm not sure if he played the 4th round, but he certainly played the last 4 in the league. Mm-hmm. Of interest was that Willian was left out.
So Hudson-Odoi now has played 90 in the last 4 league games as well. But getting some consistency. 2 attacking returns in that time. It's not bad.
Yeah, it's okay. Like
5.3 million. Same price as like your Adama Traore. It's cheaper than Adama Traore.
A goal and assist in the last 4 from what you said. And yes, noticeably all 90 minutes as well. He does pique interest. I think our friend Neil Murray took a gamble on him a few weeks back. Yeah, it's an interesting one at 5.3. Noticeable both returns in home games. Chelsea do have 2 home games coming up against Manchester United and Tottenham. It's not for me at the moment, I would say. And Abraham continues to frustrate.
I thought Villa were going to beat Bournemouth, you know. I really thought Villa were going to beat Bournemouth. And Bournemouth do what they do, which is start a run and start picking up points and then find themselves clear. I mean, two home wins on the bounce. We did say that they had to win both these games. What do they do? Won them both.
They certainly couldn't afford to lose them both or they'd have been finished.
Yeah. And they've given themselves the daylight from us and the others in and around the relegation zone. So really, really important win for Bournemouth. Aki continuing the trend of defenders scoring this weekend. Decent shout from Nathan Aki.
Yeah, he always gets the odd one, Nathan Aki, doesn't he?
Yeah. I didn't see anything from the highlights of this that made me think there's anybody there that I need to definitely get my hands on. From an FPL
I'm still on Rico at the moment. He ended up
as am I.
He ended up on the pitch for me at the weekend by default. I could have done without the Jefferson Lerma red card. Jefferson Lerma is probably the worst hatchet man in this league. He's got a suspension. He's only 1 yellow card away from another suspension for 2 games. He's on 9 yellow cards, Lerma. He really is an ill-disciplined player. The only thing I really wanted to pick up on this from a Bournemouth perspective was actually comments by Ryan Fraser last week saying that he'd not been playing for the team.
He'd not been
fascinating.
playing for the team.
He said, "Now I am." I don't know how I would have felt about that as a teammate. I
appreciate the honesty, I guess.
He's out of contract in the summer. He's 6.9 million. Is he perhaps refocused? He obviously got an assist at the weekend. Again, it's one that wouldn't be a consideration for me. I'll tell you what was interesting on this on Bournemouth is in spite of the fact that going down to 10 men, they didn't make a substitution in the game, which is odd. You'd think even to kill time at the end or something.
Yep.
Didn't make a sub. Samata.
Samata.
Is that the correct pronunciation?
Samata.
Oh, it doesn't Samata, does it?
Mbwana
6
Samata.
million scores on his debut. I think the first Mbwana Samata.
Yep.
First Tanzanian, I believe, to play in the Premier League.
Cool.
Nice 8-point return at the weekend. 6 million, if that piques your interest. It certainly
Our
pique mine.
Tanzanian friends can come to Planet FPL Live 4 in Nairobi when it happens, because they border each other, so
is that correct?
It won't take them long to get across there.
If you say so, mate.
It's the East African, Ugandan, Tanzanian, Kenyan mafia.
So I do want to talk about Jack Grealish. Because, well, he's a brilliant asset at the moment. He was incredibly unlucky not to get returns in this game, as he was against Watford in the midweek fixture the game week before. Still 7 goals, 6 assists so far this season at 6.7, still offers great value. They are about to walk into a dog's dinner, Aston Villa.
Thank God, because we need that. As West Ham fans, we need them to be dropping points as well, because our dog's dinners, ours is an elephant's turd, mate.
I think on paper, Villa might have it toughest yet. I know obviously for West Ham, the next 2 are obviously very easy, Liverpool and Manchester City away. I think overall, Villa might have it the worst. I don't think there's a drama to come off with Jack Grealish. Tottenham home, Southampton away, then it begins to look worse. Leicester, Chelsea, Newcastle away, Wolves, Liverpool, Man United. It's a big, big period for Villa. Could they potentially be distracted by that League Cup final? I'm looking at it and thinking, do you know what? Jack Grealish might be Tottenham home, Southampton away, and then sell before that game week 28 blank, quite possibly.
Yeah. Is that what you're thinking at the moment?
That's probably where I'm at in my mind, yeah.
I'm not a Jack Grealish owner, and I'm actually the opposite, where I'm thinking I'm not going to buy now.
I wouldn't buy now.
I may get him in Sky Overhaul while I can, but that's about it.
We're not going to talk about that now.
No.
That's Wednesday's podcast.
Crystal Palace 0, Sheffield United 1, 9th clean sheet of the season. Dean Henderson racking up the points as he does. Sheffield United doing really well now that they've also got Sander Berge in there. Lundstrom gets dropped. I suppose that's the biggest talking point. With Sheffield United, it pretty much is defensive assets that we're really looking at. No one's buying the attackers. Maybe John Fleck in midfield at 5 million, but that's about it.
My take on John Lundstrom would be, if you're like me and bought quite late at 4.6 million, I think it's time to sell.
Yep.
I think if you bought him day one at 4.0, I think just leave him on your bench, mate. Because all it's going to take is an injury to a Fleck or a Sander Berge or something. He's going to be back in for you. Now, if you're going to be leaving him third sub as, I don't know, your 15th or 14th player, for example, I think that's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
I think for the rest of us, in terms of come on later, I think it's probably time to come off in consideration of upcoming blanks. It's going to depend on your circumstance. Obviously, they blank in game week 28. Worth noting that although they're likely to play in game week 31, as a few people correctly pointed out on the stream to me, that Dean Henderson will miss that fixture anyway, even if they do play, because obviously he'd be ineligible to play against Manchester United. So you've probably got 2 blanks of Dean Henderson coming up in the next, game week 26 coming up. Mm-hmm. So 2 blanks out the next 6. So I think if Henderson's your goalkeeper, you don't want to be selling before Bournemouth at home, but certainly something to think about, even if it's a case you might want to look at moving, say, your 4 million keeper to Alex McCarthy or something, just to give you a...
He's at 4.4 now, so it's not a bad shout.
Although, obviously, with McCarthy, he's probably unlikely to play in 31, even if Southampton don't make the quarterfinal.
It may be a case of, ride it out and not actually take a hit on any transfers.
Maybe. I feel like if you can have a playing goalkeeper, though, have one. That's how I always feel.
Yeah, I guess it's whether or not you're wildcarding, using any transfers, any of that kind of stuff.
So yeah, I would sell. Just notable, obviously Billy Sharp played again. I don't know what the story is with that, but I think it's still the only one of the non-defenders you would consider is still Fleck. I think between Stevens, Baldock, O'Connell, Egan, Basham, probably depends a lot on where you're at financially. Because I think the easy move for those of us who want to come off Lundstram is you kind of want to stay on them, even in spite of that game week 28 blank, because fixture-wise coming up either side, Bournemouth at home, Brighton at home is the next two, and then after blanks, Norwich at home. So actually the next 3 league games are all at home against sides fighting the drop. I mean, there's got to be something in there, hasn't there?
Yep.
So I think the most likely move for myself, bearing in mind I'd be getting 4.8 for selling Lundstram, I think I'd just go for O'Connell. Safest at 4.6.
Yep.
Just on Palace, yeah, go on.
They're 6 points clear of us, West Ham, 24 to 30. So that's 2 wins. It depends how you look at it. On one side, you can say, you know what, 2 wins. If we win our next game, they lose theirs. It's a game in it. And at that point, the pressure really is on. I don't think it helps that obviously our games are so tough that you look at it and you think, actually, yeah, we'll be all right. But they could blink and they could be within touching distance of the relegation zone. I think they need to be a little bit careful here.
I think they'll be okay as long as they pick up a couple of wins over the next 5.
But if they don't, then
because
trouble.
They're running,
hideous.
Is a dog from Liverpool away in game week 31 onwards. It is not great.
We need to be careful about this dog analogies and dogs dinners, because if any RSPCA listeners,
sorry,
we said dogs dinner and then we said talks about their running being a dog. I'm just worried about the RSPCA
cats dinner,
cats loving. Let's talk about animals that don't exist in England. Tortoises. I don't know.
A tortoise's dinner.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a leaf.
Yeah.
A wet leaf. There you go.
Palace's,
you like wet lettuce.
Palace's last 8 fixtures are a wet leaf.
Lettuce.
A wet lettuce. Yeah. It's not great. For Martin Kelly owners, Joel Ward back in ahead of him. I think there was a few who obviously Ward got sent off, didn't he? And then it got rescinded. There was a few thinking, well, I'll get one more fixture out of him at Everton. Yeah. But no, that's not going to be happening. PVA played as well. There was some speculation that he might have been leaving in the window, but has stayed. Andros Townsend back fit on the bench. Milivojevic back from a ban as well. Palace, numbers-wise, feel in a better place. I think they, FPL-wise, are just absolute void. Gator's thrown one in there. That's to sum up my South team, my 2 keepers, Gator and Fabianski. One wants to punch the ball onto the back of his own defender's head. The other one just throws the ball straight in. Good between them. I went Fabianski, so I got it right out the 2.
Oh,
Palace are void. If you've got Martin Kelly, if you can come off, come off.
It's time to move on, isn't it? Maybe a Mason Holgate or
whatever. Lascelles, that kind of, if you haven't got it, I think like Lascelles at 4.2 is
good shout.
Simple as,
Liverpool 4, Southampton 0. For a change, Liverpool were a little bit more clinical and put the game to bed. You've seen them winning 1s and 2s in the past. Very, very good from Liverpool here. I mean, they're just a machine that keeps rolling on. What's that, the 9th clean sheet in 10, something along those lines, or 8th in 9?
It's not far off.
It was only, other than the Wolves game, I don't think they've conceded since November or something crazy like that now. Incredibly good at the moment from these guys.
Yeah, mad, isn't it? So it was 1 goal conceded since game week 15.
Oof, yeah, so 10 games.
We knew the clean sheets would come.
Yeah. Trent and Robbo have been sitting there, so we're just a little
But
late.
This was one where I think they got away with it a little bit.
We knew
I'm not saying they didn't deserve to win.
Game.
Yeah, I mean, they were a good side.
They did at St Mary's earlier in the season. They had a tough game as well, and Southampton put in a shift.
Who knows if that incident at 0-0, I mean, I think it's a penalty on Danny Ings personally. Who knows what would have happened at that point. I'm not sure Southampton are strong enough defensively to have coped with what would have come back at them if they'd have gone in front. Liverpool probably would have still won the game the way they just can. The thing with Liverpool is, and I said this last week or the week before, they just hit you from so many different ways. If you press on them, they'll go over the top of you. If you back off, they'll play through you. They're just not bothered. They're too good in every single department.
Patience as well is what I like about them. Don't panic. And City were very good at that, where they'll just keep playing their own game.
To sum them up, they've evolved from this rock and roll team that Klopp inherited, who just 100 mile an hour, press, to now they can play in a number of different ways. Shout out to our old dear friend, FPL Subscribe, looks like Virgil van Dijk might just be off to Juventus.
Oh, really?
You've seen a few papers pick that up at the weekend.
Okay,
now.
I haven't seen that.
I mean, it could
don't
just
read
be
papers
bullshit,
so much,
it?
But
yeah.
Very interesting. I don't see why he'd want to potentially leave there.
If you've got Mohamed Salah, I would recommend captaining him again for this Norwich fixture. Now, the danger, one of the things, I think Tom from Who Got the Assist highlighted it months ago, about the idea for this split weekend, before we even knew the fixtures, about saying it might be a good idea to captain someone that's playing the first weekend because you will have the team news. Now, obviously, anybody in that week following could pick up an injury in training. Of course, it absolutely could happen. It can also happen when managers have a press conference on a Thursday. If the player gets injured on a Friday, you probably will not know anything about it. Even if managers have an early press conference on a Friday and they get injured on a Friday afternoon, you won't know about it. It happens more times than we realise. Just
remind me who Liverpool have in the Champions League draw.
Atletico Madrid.
Okay, which they should beat. I mean, Atletico are a good side, but they should beat them.
I'm pretty sure that they play Atletico that midweek afterwards, after Norwich as well, so which is concerning for Mane owners. I think I haven't decided yet, but I might just go Mane captain, De Bruyne vice, or do it the other way around.
I feel like now, in terms of what you're talking about, in terms of rotating players and whether or not Salah's a safe pick or not, because there's 2 weeks out. Couple of things. Klopp's post-match press conference, he was very adamant that the players can all do what they want to do, and he was asked, are you keeping the team together and going away warm weather training? He was like, you know what, we spend so much time together anyway, and the team camaraderie is so good. Let them just go and do what they want to do. So they're all going to be doing their own thing. I think they'll be relaxing for a while. On top of that, now they can taste it. Like 6 games till the title, but not only that, if City slip up on a couple of games, 4 games till the title. Well, I think you would go as hard as you can until it's done now and just play your strongest team, because it's touching distance, isn't it? Yeah. I think Salah's there.
It's going to be really interesting if once we get on the other side of the March international break, sort of past 31 and into 32, where they at balance-wise, especially if they're still unbeaten. Yeah. Because we think that they'll be like, eggs in the Champions League, don't we? I'm not saying that they'll rest players in the Premier League. But I don't think it will have the psychological effect on them that it had in Arsenal in 2004, where it became like a historic thing to try and do. I think Liverpool, the mentality of that football club will so be like, okay, league's won, win the Champions League, and move on.
Trophies in the cabinet for sure.
Because to have that league season, I mean, if you offered any Liverpool fan and say, oh, you know what, you're going to lose game week 38. But you'll win the Champions League as well. They're all going to take it, mate. So the glory for that football club is always in its honours.
Yep.
So it's an interesting one to watch out for, I think, though, because I think this could get done in March.
It'd be crazy, wouldn't it?
But if they win the 6 games, what is that? Game week 31, isn't it? And we're talking City. We were talking about it off camera about City. We've got Leicester coming up, a couple of difficult fixtures. Arsenal,
West Ham. This coming weekend. Let's have a very quick chat about Jordan Henderson now. Last week when I went on FPFY, one of the talking points was Henderson versus Henderson, Dean versus Jordan, and Dean Henderson's cheaper. He's a goalkeeper. There's not that many other options. So,
sorry, is this the expert show?
The expert,
where you're comparing goalkeeper,
the
and
one
midfielder?
Where I'm still 45 points ahead of you. So at the time, obviously Jordan Henderson's never really been an FPO asset. But we talked about it on the People's Poll this morning, how tactically he's playing a bit further forward now and getting into attacking roles.
With Fabinho back.
Yeah, one of my good mates, who's a Liverpool fan, WhatsApped me afterwards, after this game, saying, what the hell do you know? What you were talking about, you were saying Dean Henderson over Jordan Henderson. He just picked up a goal and an assist. So yeah, giving me stick for thinking about that. It's irrelevant. It's a stupid comparison. But I said to him, I took your bet tactics that you did with Wilshere with Sham.
Okay.
I said to him, if Henderson picks up more than 130 points now between now and the end of the season, I'll take him out for lunch. However, I think Henderson has actually got a chance of potentially doing it now. He's up to 92 points. 3 points per game, most games, because they keep clean sheets week in, week out.
Yep.
has he evolved into a 5.4 million midfield asset? The concern, one of the points about not going with Henderson is that you just want to go with the best of the best at Liverpool. You don't want to waste the Liverpool spot on Jordan Henderson. But at 5.4 million, with the way he's playing at the moment, he's picking up some returns.
If Jordan Henderson, and to a lesser extent, Oxlade-Chamberlain, played for Manchester City, for example, and were playing every week, they would be FPL assets. But not for Liverpool, in my opinion.
Because there's better assets around the team.
Trent, VVD, Robbo, Salah, Mane. Firmino's getting lots of talk.
Even Alisson.
We don't even talk. We even say that for Alisson. We're like, don't waste it on Alisson. Look, if you've been on him, you've had great returns, and you'll be going, oh yeah, well I've got him. But no.
Long-term FPL. If you look at his points tallies before his 13-point hauls, 3, 3, 3, 3.
These guys,
3, 2.
These guys are the best of the best at the moment. Get the best assets from these guys, whoever you think they are.
And just a couple of quick points on Southampton, because they did all right other than getting steamrolled in the
chances.
end. There's plenty of people like Lee at FPL Family and a couple others that say they bought Ings and broke him a few weeks ago. You're an Ings owner.
Yep.
You're going to stick. And I'm going to buy Ings and sell Neil Mopay. So I think we're agreed that he's blanked a couple of games, but don't panic.
Southampton's next 7: Burnley at home, Villa at home, West Ham away, Newcastle at home, Norwich away, Arsenal at home, Watford away.
Don't sell Ings.
There's some who are thinking of double ups. Now, I'm not big on that. I mean, I've got Ings and McCarthy, but I'm hearing a few people say, oh, should we look at like Ward-Prowse as well, or Nathan Redmond? I wouldn't. This is the same thing for me as what we've just said about Liverpool. Danny Ings is the guy there. Get him in.
Be done with it. Yeah, agreed.
Interestingly, much to my own fear, he was obviously dragged off with 20 minutes to go, and I suspect that's because he's going to play the replay against Spurs on Wednesday night. They'll obviously give us a tough game in that replay. I think they're bringing 5,000 or 6,000 as well, Southampton.
Oh, so fair play.
Should be a cracking atmosphere Wednesday night.
I'm meeting a mate who's a Spurs fan on Wednesday night for dinner. Maybe we'll watch the game. That'll be quite good. Is the tickets going still?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
I'll see.
It'll be close to a sellout if it's not.
It's a little cold outside. I don't know. We'll see.
In spite of the £25 ticket price. Thank you, Mr. Daniel Levy, you thieving bastard.
Newcastle 0, Norwich 0. Enough said. For all the report, I didn't see many highlights, and all the reports were this was dull as dishwater.
If you want the report for this game, go back and listen to Thursday's Clash of the Correspondents, which featured our Norwich correspondent FPL_Badger, who said, we'll dominate the game, have loads of chances, not
miss
score. Them all. And Sire, FPL footballer, our Newcastle correspondent, said, and your manager will moan about it after the game.
Yeah.
They basically gave the report of the game before it happened. Norwich should have won this fixture. Newcastle's league position is remarkable. And we're not saying enough about it. And I don't know if watching quite a bit of that game from the weekend, if it's down to luck, or if the manager, Steve Bruce, who we think's done quite well, if he has to take a mass amount of credit, because on so many statistical metrics like XG, etc., shots on goal, whatever, they come up like second bottom for so many things. Essentially, when you break them down statistically, they have shown relegation form in all but points.
Yep.
And they are probably 2 to 3 wins away from being safe. And they'll get them. They've got a good little run. Newcastle have got obviously a difficult, over the split weekend, a difficult fixture away to Arsenal, where they won't expect to get anything. Anything they get would be treated as a bonus. But they've got some home games particularly coming up where Big Tasty's in. You know, I look at the fixtures after Arsenal. Palace away, Burnley at home, Southampton, Sheffield United, Villa, Bournemouth, West Ham. Where, you know, some weeks I'm going to play them, some weeks I'm not. It's going to be dependent on where I'm at in terms of my rotation at the time. I think he's a great shout at 4.2.
He's a good option.
I think Si went for St. Maximin.
Did he?
At 5.4. And I saw a tweet he sent out saying, like, if not now, when?
Yeah.
And I get that. I just think offensively, just to be completely avoided, if you want to go in, Big Tasty is absolutely obvious at 4.2. And if you don't use him, you don't use him, right?
It's funny how Newcastle have managed to pick up Danny Rose in the transfer window.
It's 5.3, Danny Rose.
He is expensive. I'm not even thinking from an FPL asset, but I'm just thinking about Newcastle as a football club. There was even talk when we were trying to get the deal for, what's his face from Hull? Jared Bowen over the line, that he would rather have preferred a move to Newcastle. I understand that Hull and Newcastle are quite close to each other, maybe logistically, but they still have a certain pull for players, does Newcastle United, because the single club city, big stadium, the owner's as bad as ours, to be honest with you, and the manager's not everyone's cup of tea. But I feel like Newcastle still has a certain pull for players.
I think Bruce, to an extent, got the fans on side. Actually,
how can you not? You've got to be a real stick in the mud.
They sensed it in the same way. I mean, the biggest stat on Newcastle is the three guys up front. I know people joked about Almiron and stuff. Almiron, St. Maximin and Joe Linton in the league this season. How many goals, Suj, between all three of them?
In the league, Almiron none. St. Maximin maybe one or two.
We know that Almiron,
4.
We know that Almiron has scored.
Oh yeah, his other two are in the.
But it's the correct answer.
4.
No, okay, it is 4. Yeah. 4 goals between the three of them. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And they're still, what are they, 10th, 11th or something?
Yeah.
Fair game. I think they'll do enough over the next couple of weeks to be all right. Then they're going to need more investment. And it unfortunately for Newcastle, it's just going to be a repetitive cycle season after season.
Anything on... so I've got Fernandes in my North team, sitting on first bench last week, but 9 points. Throughout the last 3, he's picked up clean sheets and maximum bonus points. One was a 0-0, one was a 1-0. So... it's not like there was that many attacking players picking up loads of
but there isn't in Newcastle
points.
Games, is there?
No, there rarely is. If we're looking here, 0-0. Okay, there was a 2-2 against Everton, but 1-0, 1-1.
That's what I mean. If you've got the little extra for Fernandes and you're happy to pay that, rather than Lascelles, I'm not against it because of what you're saying. He probably does look like he's going to pick up the BPS a little bit more than Lascelles. Yeah, I can understand it. And the reason they attract is because when they win games, they are often winning them 1-0. They're not winning games 3-2 or anything like that, are they? At the weekend, they didn't play
not doing anything else during the game.
And the defenders get goals, don't they? Norwich, same story, isn't it? Nice, easy fixture against Liverpool coming up.
They're gone.
I think Pookie's still viable. I think Todd Cantwell, if you own, is still absolutely fine. Duda apparently played really well at the weekend. I think 5 key passes, 2 big chances created. It's 5, isn't he? Duda. It was Duda 5, Rupp 4.5. Rupp played okay as well, but Duda looked the standout for the week. Obviously, it's because I said on Clash of the Correspondents I'd go Rupp, but cheaper. But no, Norwich not on my radar. Fixtures toughening up. Bleak, unfortunately.
Watford must be gutted to lose this one. 3-2 must be gutted. No, but
I think most of us would have probably put... It's the sort of game with Everton season you'd have gone, home win.
Yeah.
But Everton, interestingly, since Ancelotti took over, they'd be 3rd. And it's 19 points from 10, I think.
Wow.
It's good, isn't it?
Good
and it's under the radar.
Yeah, very, very under the radar. When you
consider how they blew the 2-0 lead against Newcastle in game week 24 as well.
Yep. 33 points. So only 3 points above Palace. So not massively. Well, 9 points above us. But they're 9th in the table now.
They're a form horse there at the moment, aren't they? The problem is, you think, oh, they've had a good run. Let me have a look at their fixtures. Oh, Luca Dean's down to 5.8. And you go, okay, Palace at home this week. Oh, afterwards. Arsenal, Man United, Chelsea, Liverpool, Norwich, Leicester, Tottenham, Southampton, Wolves. No, you're all right.
No, Italian defensive masterclass in all these games, not there.
Keeping the clean sheets particularly, are they?
No.
They seem to win the odd game at home 1-0, and I could see that at the weekend. Well, it's Palace, isn't it? They just don't score enough goals, Palace. No. Yeah, I could see Everton winning maybe 1-0 at the weekend, quite possibly. That's our Clash of the Correspondents feature on Thursday. We'll see what Sean and Mig are saying for themselves on that. I think Sean will come on and be in a good mood for a change, quite possibly.
I think was he in a good mood last time?
No, he really wasn't, mate.
I'm trying to remember. We have had him on in a good mood.
We had him on just before they lost at Leicester.
He'll be in a good mood at the live show in Manchester because I'll buy that guy a pint.
He will be at the live show.
Correct.
It was well known that Silva was going, but they hadn't officially sacked him. He wasn't in the best place. I think he will be at the moment. But because of them fixtures. And the only danger with that is they're a little bit of a form horse at the moment. And obviously they had that dirty spell. It was a little bit later in the season last year with all them horrendous home fixtures that they ended up keeping clean sheets in all of them afterwards. Is there a danger of that? I just feel now, this year, with Gomez is close. Gomez could be back for the Arsenal fixture, apparently. Gbamin's had a setback. Season could be finished. He's only played about 80 minutes or something, I think. Midfield-wise, still got too many problems for me. The squad needs a mass overhaul. I would still be avoiding Everton.
West Ham 3, Brighton 3. Mad game. Game of two halves, if ever you wanted a cliche for this one. But ultimately, West Ham threw away a 2-0 and a 3-1 lead. Brighton came strong at the end, but I think West Ham invited a lot of pressure. We go into quite a bit more detail on Tottenham, which is out tomorrow, so do listen into that if you want a little bit more insight into the game.
Yeah, and all those West Ham tips, that FPL assets you can be buying ahead of Manchester City on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, how many points do you get for scoring an own goal? Same as
is it -2? Is it
same as scoring a regular goal? I don't know. I wouldn't be buying any West Ham assets right now.
She said to me? Yeah. Because remember when she bought a
Bonner, the wife? Yeah. Did she play him this weekend? Go on.
No, she didn't. She
sold him. Yeah?
She left him out. Yeah.
Oh,
she went, "Ooh, yeah, you were right. Need to get rid of him, didn't I?" Bonner, how did she do it? She needs to get, I don't know if she got Aloe out or not, but if she didn't, she needs to. Mind you, her FPL team after the couple of weeks I had pissing all over me as well at the moment. Yeah, I mean, West Ham's just a City away, Liverpool away.
Look,
if you got your
for the next couple,
if you got your Robert Snodgrass points, I mean
Sam.
I mean Sam from FPL family is killing. Is she top 1,000 now?
Yeah,
absolutely killing it. Well done,
with
girl.
The Snodgrass move. She's not the only one. There were a couple of others. Tomo, FPL
2
Blade,
deflected goals, right? I was a little bit.
But he hit both.
It's amazing how it always seems to happen every year that people take a punt on, and I don't know if it's what Sam did, but you take a punt on players who have got the double game week. You've got them on the other side all of a sudden. Oh, Brighton at home, I better play him. And then that's when the points come. It's amazing that seems to happen every year.
He is going to win Hammer of the Year, hands down, because he always puts a shift in. So I'm really super happy for the guy.
Is not Jack Wilshere going to win it? No?
Nah. He'll win a hammer.
He's going
to win a hammer.
He's having another op, isn't he? You know why I'm going to double that 50 quid to 100
groin
quid?
Operation, I think, was it? Something along those lines.
Groin hernia, I don't know. Too much wanking, getting out the fucking washing machine the wrong way, I don't know. The reason I wanted to double it to 100 quid is, I mean, I saw Sham last Thursday, 2 guys, 1 cup. I mean, he's going to owe me 100 anyway.
Yeah.
You might as well just give the money to you.
To me. Fair play. There's no West Ham assets to consider at the moment, but just keep an eye, especially not for the next couple. Antonio gets a run, and you may want to consider him because he can and does get FPL returns, but
looks at fixtures.
Not for the next couple for sure. He's just Christ. Not. I can't trust a player whose fitness I can't trust in FPL because it's a transfer out waiting to happen really. So he's not doing it.
I think he might be a great asset after the March Internationals, if he's fit.
Fabianski also made a number of good saves at the weekend.
He is a good keeper. That's why the first goal was so uncharacteristically bad from him.
Yeah, and had that not gone in, I think the game could have been quite different, but there you go. Brighton weren't their usual selves, I'll be honest with you. Aaron Moy didn't really run the game like he normally does, but Pascal Gross was their best attacking player by a long shot. I was surprised that Mopé didn't play. I guess giving him a rest, maybe? I'm not sure. But disappointing really from a West Ham point of view.
I want to pick up on a Brighton asset who will be incredibly under the radar at the moment at 0.2% owned. And it's worth saying beyond this Watford fixture this weekend, which has now become absolutely crucial for Brighton, they do have a tough run of fixtures. But I noticed from what I watched of the game that Solly March was very involved in the final 20 minutes that he was on the pitch.
Yeah, he only came on for 20 minutes, so...
He looked lively as. He's down to 4.6 million as a midfielder, and it's one just to keep an eye on, I think. If you're looking for someone in and around that value to save a bit of money, cover you off for blanks, etc. I mean, Brighton away to Leicester in game week 31, so probably unlikely to play there. But if that was to suddenly come up, he's the sort of one, you know, fifth mid, might be worth keeping an eye on. The only problem with him is he does tend to suffer from injuries and setbacks.
Yeah, I'm
he's
not
a talent, you know.
He's a very good player, don't get me wrong. But that 20 minutes played into his hands because we sat so deep and gave him the ability to do that.
Yeah, agreed.
And the fact that he didn't start would be a concern for me as well. But 4.6 million, like you said, it's not a lot of money. If he's benched, he's benched, you know. So
can I ask you about Trossard just before we move on?
Yeah, good player, but I'm not for me at the moment.
You are a Neil Maupay owner, am I right in saying that? What are you doing?
Buying Danny Ings.
This week?
Correct.
Okay, so you've obviously got money spare there. What if you were in a position where you didn't
have any money spare?
Yeah.
Dominic Calvert-Lewin. There's 0.1 in it or 0.2 in it, maybe.
Yeah, good shout. Fucking hell, you are an expert, aren't you? All right.
I've been thinking about what to do with Neil Maupay for about 3 weeks, mate.
Okay,
that's why.
Fine. No temptation to hold for that Watford fixture this weekend, no?
No, I think it's time to move on to
Why do you think he didn't come on?
I'm not sure.
Did you noticeably see him warming up? Or
No. I'm not sure why he didn't come on, I'll be honest with you. Manchild just walked in.
Manchild in the house.
You beat James this week.
Don't worry, everybody beat James this week.
In percentage points, as in 50%, how many more points than James did you get this week?
20%.
Try about 100 and something, probably.
Try exactly 104.5%, something like that. He got 30 points, you got 69. That's 130%.
That's the title of the pod, exactly about 104.5%.
Yep. 130%, something along those lines, man, child. I don't know the maths. Basically, you more than doubled his score. With a 69, mate. You got a 69.
You got a 69.
Congratulations.
Well done, mate.
Let's get on with the pod.
For Valentine's Day.
Correct.
Does this tell you anything about the game?
What, that you got a 69?
I'm going.
Moving on.
What? Man United 0, Wolves 0.
Did you watch the game? I presume you didn't. You were
I
probably travelling back.
had it on while I was cooking dinner in the evening. It was all right.
Was
I got out quite early, actually.
It was an interesting game. I always enjoy Wolves from a tactical aspect. Even in a game like this, they just won't budge in terms of how they just want to kill you on the counter. It was two teams that essentially were absolutely petrified of the other on what they could do to them on the counter attack, which is interesting because I think the fear was slightly greater for United than it was for Wolves, because Wolves were even more come on, and you know if you send Traore away, right? The news on Traore
Shaw did all right against Traore.
I thought Luke Shaw, who I was a bit submissive of on the People's Poll this morning, in terms of potential England spot, I actually thought, he played, particularly in the second half, he got much better, Luke Shaw. He got a bit tight. I tried to get a bit physical with him, which is brave as, because, you know, Traore will just bounce the fuck off you. But yeah, he did all right, actually. I thought it was one of the better performers in the game. I'm really pleased to now have Jimenez as part of my squad. I just think it's consistency. I didn't really hesitate to even take the hit to get him in for this fixture, because with him it's any game, any time, so consistent. He's the sort of player I feel like he's never a captainable option, but he's always a good FPL option. I think he's still maintained good value. I think he'll probably be at a higher value again next season. Wolves, fine.
Yeah,
Solskjaer's comments after the game, just more bizarre fucking gibberish coming out of his mouth, basically.
He's learning from Mourinho in terms of nonsense.
I cannot believe that guy will be manager of that football club next season.
I think he will be.
They can't be. Even if they finish top 4, I should sack him off, mate. Honestly. And they won't finish top 4.
Yeah, they won't. They won't.
I just can't see it. I feel like he's just talking circles. I'm beginning to feel like him. When I listen to him speak...
Did we watch the same game of football? That kind of thing.
He said... he was praising the fact that like it's so difficult to break down Wolves, and then actually, in spite of how much we praise Wolves, you start looking back at fixtures and going, well, they ain't get to clean sheet for quite a while, actually, and saying, we've played them 3 times and we've kept 3 clean sheets. Does that excuse the fact that you scored once against them, mate? You know, United and Wolves have played each other 3 times in the last month. 1 goal scored by Mata in the 3rd round replay. So what does he want to do? He wants to take big credit because he's stopped Wolves 3 times over, with 2 of those fixtures being at home. Oh, come on, mate. He would really pain me. If I was a United fan listening to him, I'd be sinking into my seat every time he speaks at the moment. Odion Ighalo, 6.5 million, price unveiled. Should have said that's the price Jared Bowen's got as well.
Okay. I hadn't had a look, to be honest with you. Is he a forward or a midfielder, Bowen?
I didn't look. I presume I will have a quick look. I presume midfielder, I would have thought. Must be.
Yeah.
Ighalo, 6.5. Tempt, yes or no?
No.
Even with his historical FPL performances?
No.
No, I'm inclined to agree. But we did think Fernandes Bowen is a midfielder. We did think that Fernandes at 8 million was a bit cheaper than what we'd thought.
Yeah. What do you think?
Likes a shot, doesn't he?
He
does.
don't
think twice about it.
I suppose he wanted to mark his debut at home with a goal, so he's probably a little
I
bit
think
more.
that's how he plays. I didn't think he played badly. I thought actually,
to be honest, don't mind that.
he had a better effect on the game, I thought,
more.
when he went deeper as well, because United needed.
He's a
Excuse
decent
me,
asset,
that
isn't he? I
creativity
mean,
from
for the
deeper.
first game and first sight of the guy, I think he could actually progress well.
Yeah, it looks a good player. Really hard to tell, to be honest. I mean, from that perspective, Wolves are about as, to contradict what I'd said, Wolves are a difficult team to come up against. Just on Wolves as well, because I think a few are thinking, covering blanks here. Game week 31, looking ahead, we know that fixture against Bournemouth is on, and we'll talk game week 31 in the Twitter queues. And thinking about Wolves treble up. If you're like me, you've got Jimenez, Traore. I'm thinking about now Willy Bolly.
Cody
4.7,
Bolly,
straight back in with a clean sheet. No BPS, noticeably. But he does get attracted to it, and his 26 BPS is close, I would have thought, to getting in there in a 0-0 draw. Yeah, Bolly at 4.7 is interesting.
It was Cody and Wan-Bissaka were joint on 31, then Patricio on 30 and Maguire on 27. So it was not far off picking up some BPS at all.
They have, obviously, Leicester at home, then Norwich at home, Tottenham away, and then Brighton, West Ham, Bournemouth. Obviously, that's leading into that game week 31 fixture. So the fixtures aren't bad. Obviously, that Leicester fixture's difficult. You can argue the case whether Tottenham away is or isn't. I'll let others be the judge of that. But yeah, Bolly could be a good alternative to me for O'Connor. I'm just not sure I want to go into that Leicester fixture with 3 Wolves.
Burnley 0, Arsenal 0. When's the last time on a Premier League weekend there were 3 0-0 draws? It must be a while. You don't often get 0-0.
And it felt like there were a lot of goals this weekend, is what it felt like.
I mean, there was 6 in our game and quite a few, yeah.
Obviously 5 at Watford, 4 at Anfield, 4 at Leicester.
Yeah.
2 at Tottenham.
Yeah. We'll get on to that.
Just 2.
Arsenal changing formation or changing lineup. Torreira dropped, which was a bit confusing. Thank you, Aubameyang.
Well, I wouldn't say been dropped. He's just got back, isn't he,
Yeah,
Torreira?
true. But Aubameyang was my Sky captain and was a disappointment.
Poor you. I watched the first 25 minutes of this, and I wasn't going to leave to go to Spurs till half-time. And I thought, do you know what, there's half a chance I might fall a kip here. So I'm just going to get up and go now, make sure I don't miss Spurs. I actually thought Arsenal played quite well, first 20, 25 minutes.
Just to interrupt you, I would laugh if the first time you miss a Spurs game in however many years is because you fell asleep.
True story. I'll tell you this quick. I've only ever come close to missing a Spurs game once because of sleep. And believe it or not, it was a North London derby.
Oh, wow.
It was actually when Arsenal beat us 5-4 in 2004. I was working in a pub in Hertford at the time, and it got a bit messy. Lock-in and all that. I woke up fucking 10 to 11, mate, for a 12 o'clock kickoff. My God, Jamaican shower, and I was on a train, mate.
Wow.
I was there. I was at Tottenham at like 11:30. It was fine, but I shit myself when I woke up.
Wow.
I watched the first 25. I thought Saka was great, what I saw of the game. And then obviously he went off injured at half-time. He was really good at left back. And then I saw the final 15 minutes at the ground, which was a bit of a damp squib. And apparently everything I missed, Burnley dominated.
Yep.
Is basically
Second
what
half
happened.
is what I heard, that Burnley were much the better team.
Yeah. It looked like, sort of reading between the lines and what people have been saying online, is that Burnley went to press Arsenal really early. It didn't really work. So then they sat off, and then Arsenal couldn't sort of break in between the lines. A lot made. I've seen some Burnley shithousery about not watering the pitch. Apparently got up Mikel Arteta's go up. Listen, this is very commonplace for clubs with respect of Burnley's level to be doing this sort of thing against higher standing or teams that would expect to play football on the ground. It's commonplace. Get on with it, mate.
Nick Pope still now an option. He's dropped in price.
Those who sold Nick Pope pre-Leicester are probably thinking, my God, what have I done here? Because you obviously had the penalty save against Leicester and then consecutive clean sheets against Manchester United and Arsenal. You probably can't believe it. And that's why we so often say, when you've got your keeper, stick with your keeper. It's just not worth the fuck about, because you get that, like he saves a penalty. I mean, what did Loris get this weekend? 12, 13 or something, I think. It's just not worth, that's at home to Man City. It's just not worth the piss about. 15 points Hugo Lloris got yesterday. It's just not worth the piss about.
Spurs 2, City 0. Should we wrap up that game and then we can do a few Twitter questions?
Yeah, I kind of gone into it as Suja's done with West Ham, Brighton. I've done the same tomorrow on Tottenham, so we'll keep it FPL perspective. Lots asking me about Japhet Tanganga at 4 million, who I thought was absolutely fantastic at left back. Only got beaten once on the outside very late in the game, but he defended Riyad Mahrez very well. And the common question obviously coming to me is he now a lock, James?
Yeah.
The answer to the question is yes, well, Ben Davies is not fit. My understanding is Ben Davies could be fit as early as the Aston Villa game.
Okay.
So make of it what you will. For me, it's a massive risk when you're coming into blanks, you're trying to cover off if you want to keep sort of your value in people like Kevin De Bruyne or Jack Grealish, for example, or Aubameyang, whatever, going into these blanks. To get a player like that in is a massive gamble. Spurs don't have the best fixture that weekend either, playing Wolves at home. So I've maintained consistently that I think once Ben Davies is fit, he'll be back in the team. That said, like, no joke now, the kid is playing very, very well. And he's playing within himself. He's under clear instruction not to go forward. If he has the ball in possession, it's an inside pass to Winks or Lo Celso, or it's a straightforward pass to Son. Do not do anything else with the ball. He is not going forward. He's never going to get you attack in return. I don't think he's even been going forward for corners. I might have missed that. We haven't had a corner for quite a while, I don't think, other than the one we scored from yesterday. So yeah, interesting. Obviously, goal for Bergwijn, 7.5 million. The fact he scored on his debut will instantly go up in price. I should imagine you need to see more, and he might have picked up a calf injury. I maintain, in spite of the 2 goals in 2 games for Heung-min Son, that I still believe that he's underperforming. If you're on, absolutely stay on. I wouldn't go and buy, but I understand the temptation, particularly for those who perhaps, say, got Salah and Mane. Where do I go with the Mane money if he's out for the Norwich game? And I think that's one where I can go,
Son is a
Villa,
decent option.
Yeah, absolutely, possibly. But for me, investment for Spurs, not interested. Not personally, under no consideration to buy any Spurs assets.
Yeah.
On Manchester City,
I would buy.
Well, you say that, but
where? Have you seen their results against us in the last? If you look at the last 4 or 5 games, the last 4-0s, 5-0s, 4-0s,
at
5-0s.
West Ham, but not at the Etihad. The last few years at the Etihad has been like 1-0, 1-0, 2-1 or something.
Yeah.
And where do you go? Like, if you're on Aguero, you're almost bullied into captaining him, I think, this week, if you've got him. Yep. I just think it might be worth the gamble. But then is it if you've got Salah as well? You know Salah will play against Norwich.
Yeah.
I don't know the correct answer to that. But I feel personally like I can't buy them. Where do I go? Where do I know to say it's going to be Mahrez or Bernardo Silva? Let me, while you come back to your seats, and this is the best sum up, is what our Man City correspondent, FPL Pringle, tweeted last night.
I saw you retweet that.
And this is exactly what he said on Manchester City. Thoughts on City's FPL assets today are the same as always. We create a lot of chances. Sometimes we just miss all of them. Your City players might not play, and even when they do, they might not be involved, but there's one guy who nearly always is, KDB.
Everybody owns
And
him
that's
already.
it.
Everybody owns him already, so there's not really anything to learn about getting KDB in. But I think get the best one you can afford, maybe. I'm surprised David Silva hasn't been getting more minutes, I'll be honest with you.
My take on City, as someone who only owns KDB, which I'm quite happy to, and the chances are I'm probably going to captain KDB against yourselves on the weekend, is like, with Aguero and that, it's maximum risk for maximum reward. If you captain Sergio Aguero at the weekend, trust me, the trick is probably, is he going to play or is he going to play? Because if he plays, you probably banker to get the returns, aren't you? You know the risk. Mm-hmm. It's up to every single individual to make that choice, I think. If you could say to me now, Sergio Aguero will definitely play against West Ham at the weekend, I'll go, yep, best captaincy option, even in spite of Liverpool's fixture against Norwich.
Agreed.
But Willie.
Bolly.
Willie?
Oh,
you've got me there. Well done.
Right, let's do some Twitter questions before we wrap up another episode 1.3,260,000 or whatever it is. We do a lot of episodes, James.
Yeah, what Sid just said, for those who don't understand his gibberish, is that tickets for Planet FPL Live 3 in Manchester on February the 22nd remain on sale.
They do.
And Chelsea Spurs at 12:30 might have just got a lot bigger.
It might have, because you could...
Don't speak to me.
leapfrog them into fourth. Let's have a look at some of these Twitter questions, shall we? Conman, at Conman with two N's, 1975. Have you both decided your remaining chip strategy and thoughts on Aubameyang's performance on Sunday? Is he worth keeping or bringing in for the two home games? Talk to me about chips.
Or Aubameyang.
Chips first.
Okay.
Are you sticking with your original plan?
It's completely dependent on Liverpool.
Okay.
My take on it would be as follows. A lot of us have got free Liverpool assets. Mm-hmm. A lot of us have probably got some sort of Wolves coverage. And even if we haven't, probably thinking about some sort of Wolves coverage beyond, maybe even now for the Leicester fixture, but certainly perhaps the Norwich fixture afterwards.
Yeah.
And a decent run running into game week 31. Whether planning or not planning for the blank, I think Wolves are attractive in this upcoming spell of fixtures. So people like Bolly, obviously Jimenez, Traore. So I'm in a position now where I'm considering Bolly, genuinely to add to it whether I plan for it or not.
Yep.
If I add Bolly as my Lundstrom replacement, which as I can sell at 4.8, I could do, and Liverpool don't beat Shrewsbury and Chelsea in the FA Cup and end up playing in game week 31, I am already on 6 players from the 2 best available sides in game week 31, being Liverpool at home to Crystal Palace if they play, and Wolves at home to Bournemouth.
Assuming Mane's fit by then.
Listen, if Mane's not fit, then I'm going to pay whatever it takes to get Mohamed Salah in. I'm not that blindsided.
On that, I bought Salah on Saturday morning at 12.6. Annoyingly, he went up overnight. He's gone up again now. He's 12.7. So,
and it will keep going.
Yeah,
I'm prepared.
The longer Mane's out, the more Salah's price is going to go up.
I'm prepared to take the loss that I'm obviously suffering with Sadio Mane at the moment, because in spite of, yes, it massively hurt me. If I could go back, when I said triple captain in Mane, would you do it again? Yeah, absolutely. If I could go back to Friday, I would go back and do exactly what I said I should do, which is buy Mohamed Salah. So that one's clearly a mistake. You know, when I always say, can you go into a game week and be happy with what you've done? I went for the move that give me the better long-term squad. But it wasn't... If there's a failing of me, it's hitting captaincies when they're bloody blindingly obvious. That's why my rank is 1 million and not 100,000, for example. So lesson learned.
So yeah, but I think you're right, because you did mention off air, we had a question about the free hit from Dan McKenna. If Liverpool's kids lose to Shrewsbury, is free hit 31 out the window as a strategy? More than likely. So you'd be happy with 9 players that week?
To be honest, I'd be happy with 6, Liverpool and West Ham,
and just take
Wolves, and whatever I've got going spare. If you take me now, for example, if Newcastle have got a replay at Oxford tomorrow night and then a trip at West Brom in round 5, if they don't make it to the quarterfinals, I've then got Lascelles and Grealish added. Yeah. I'm nearly there. If I'm at that position where all of a sudden I'm at 8 without even planning towards it and being happy with those, essentially, why am I going to free hit? The free hit for 31 is a non-aggressive move. It's a shield to protect yourself against everybody else essentially doing the same thing and you staying with it. And the only differences will be which one of your 4.3 defenders you get in who happens to keep a clean sheet on the day. It's not going to massively hurt you. But the benefit in not using it will be potentially, I think, what may come in game week 34. Now, what's important with game week 34 is there will not be a lot of teams that double. And that's because it's the same game week as the FA Cup semi-final. So anybody in an FA Cup semi-final cannot double game week. There will be rescheduled fixtures. Those in FA Cup semi-finals will absolutely certainly play in that midweek game week. That's a certainty. The last time there was a double game week, the same as the FA Cup semi-final, there was one team that blanked and 3 teams that had doubles. Now, depending on what those teams are, you can potentially free hit in game week 34 into 9 players with a double. That feels like a much better advantage to me than me maybe being 2 or 3 players short in game week 31.
Correct.
That's how it feels to me. And it is very dependent on Liverpool.
The only thing I would add onto what James is saying is around the wild card. And the wisdom at the moment is around, if you wild card in 36, you can bench boost in 37 when there'll be another double, probably. And the question is not if there'll be a double, it's how many games will be in 37. Stack your bench up, fill your boots, and then you just got to ride out game week 38. I'm not sure I'm a fan of that at the moment because of the lack of time you get with your new wildcard team. The majority of people posting on Twitter, and I don't take Twitter as gospel for what's going on in the wider game, who are posting 70s, 80s, 90s this weekend gone were because they'd wildcarded into a lot of players that did well. I just feel like I want to get the most use out of my wildcard team.
That's fair.
But at the same time, I'm not unhappy with my current team.
Neither am I.
You weren't happy to use your last wild card. Our friend Mark, FPL General, it's interesting, I was listening to your show maybe a week and a half ago, after he wildcarded in 20 or 21, whichever it was, 5 red arrows on the trot. And sometimes, yeah, you don't, if your squad's good, don't use it. Don't muck it up just for the sake of that wild card.
I don't think Mark mucked it up.
No,
I think he went for what was best for him.
Yeah, of course, but you didn't want to use your wild card, I suppose is my point. Right now, I'm not going to use it just to get the maximum amount of time with my team. I'm going to leave it. But there may come a point where I can take it.
The only question for me in terms of my chip strategy, I will be almost certainly wildcarding game week 36. And I know that so many people will be, you need to use it earlier, it's a waste, etc. I'm looking at my squad and I'm telling you, if I wildcarded right now, I'd probably be making 4 or 5 changes. It just doesn't feel worth it to me. I'm really happy in the position that I'm in squad-wise. You know, I'm talking about, like I said, I'm in a position I might be leaving James Maddison on the bench next week. So I feel like I'm in a strong position, possibly too strong, but then I can downgrade that and make different moves if I want to. I'm now playing fixtures individually because I'm settled with sort of people like Vardy, Ings, Jimenez, Mane, if he's fit, KDB. These guys are not leaving my team if they're fit. I've got consistency there. So then I can make my jump-offs to, you know, Maddison to Snodgrass when he has 2 amazing West Ham fixtures. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So I'm happy. If you're really unhappy with what you've got at the moment, I think there's another mass launch of wildcards going on now. It's absolutely fine. I'm in no way saying don't use your wildcard. Please understand that everybody's circumstance is different. My opinion is that what will be best for me is using that wildcard late. Remember, I didn't want to use the bloody first one. And I'll bench boost in 37. 37 will 100% be the double game week with the most fixtures. Yes, there will be issues with potentially lack of motivation, fixtures being unimportant, maybe younger players getting fixture returns. That's why as well, I see people talking about maybe wildcard in 32 or 33 and then using the bench boost in 37. My recommendation on that would be don't, because that's what I did a couple of years ago, and it was an absolute disaster.
Too big a gap between the two.
A disaster.
Right.
Because by the time I got to 37, I wanted to rip the whole thing apart.
We are going to speed this up now, James. We're going to go rapid fire with a few more questions. We've only got through about 3 so far. Adam P at 35who. Pritchard, is this a good Premier League season or a bad Premier League season?
That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that. I think the answer is probably bad.
For me, it's a good Premier League season because there's a lot more competition. I understand Liverpool have really
says the hammer.
If we get relegated, it'll be a bad Premier League season. So now it's good.
I think you are quite, when you answer that question, you're quite influenced by the team that you support as well.
Always, I like anyone being able to beat anyone. I think that's
the majority
of
football fans. I think if you listed all 20 Premier League clubs right now, there would be more unhappy than happy
with the state of their clubs.
Yeah,
or
the state of their season.
Yeah,
like we get Sean on Thursday, our Everton correspondent. He's probably quite happy right now. If I said, Sean, assess your whole season, he'd be like, oh, this has been a shocker, mate. And yet they're 6 points off fourth or something, 7 points off fourth with a shot if they can get through this tough run of fixtures of pushing on for Europe, etc. I think you'd go, obviously Liverpool fans would be happy. Leicester, Wolves, Sheffield United. There'd be too many others.
Yeah, probably not.
It's not that many going to be particularly happy with where they're at.
Yeah, but if you look at the Premier League season as a whole, I feel like someone like Leicester breaking through and really showing what can be done. Sheffield United showing what can be done. I like it when it's a lot more even rather than a few clubs running away with it.
But the reality of Wolves, Sheffield United, for example, and it's not to discredit either, they're both having great seasons, is that if the so-called big guns were performing even to average, they would be 8-9 points adrift of top 4.
Yeah. Next season will be interesting to see whether the so-called big guns do claw it back up, or is it now a chance where other teams can catch up? And that leads on to our next question from our Chelsea friend Ben Moxham _, who says, has the Premier League turned into La Liga? A couple of clubs higher than the rest and the rest scrounging for the Champions League spots.
It might have.
Now, if it has got to that, then I think, maybe the Premier League does need to have a think about it. I'd like to see a bit of change around that. But we've never historically had that in our league. I mean, the league has been like that for years and years and years. The Premier League's never been like that. I mean, United were dominant for a while, but Arsenal have got in, Chelsea have got in, City have got in, you guys have got in there, Liverpool are now in there. I think there's more depth than the La Liga in the Premier League.
If Liverpool only took 2 points per game from what they've got left, they'd finish on 99.
Only took 2 points from what they've got left.
2 points per game for what they got left. They'd finish on 99. They'd have a flake with that, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
That'd be disappointing. Would they be disappointed with that? No, they wouldn't be.
What? That's the equivalent of draw, win, draw, win, draw, win. And when they've only drawn one game all season so far, they'd be disappointed.
Worth saying as well, I think Liverpool can now, even if City won all their games, they can win the league on game week 31, can't they? I think. Possibly.
6 wins, basically. That's what they need.
Yes, game week 31, isn't it?
Yep.
There is a danger because of, I think, Liverpool and Man City, that the two of them could, City are going to really respond next year. If you take even just to go back to Leicester, who have been absolute, and we've praised to hell this season, 49 points from 25 is very good. That's on par of what you would want to expect to be finishing top 4. They are miles clear of Chelsea, and certainly they're 12 points clear of Tottenham, who are 5th at the moment. Chelsea's 41 points from 25 games, I'm telling you, is shit.
Yeah.
To be challenging for top 4 right now, you would really want to be at least on about 5 points more, at least.
As a minimum. I was going to say closer to 50,
to be
really.
banking on an average. Now, obviously, you can have a great run and catch that up. But in terms of the bar I always set with Spurs is I'm looking for 2 points per game. Now that long went for Spurs. I don't even think we can finish on 2 points per game. I don't think if we win everything left, I don't think we can finish on that. I'm just looking now. No, probably nowhere near it. And Chelsea are well below that bar. You finish on 2 points per game, that's 76 points. 76 points has always been enough for top 4. Chelsea on 41 points from 25 and nowhere near that level. So, I mean, 4th this year at the rate it's going, 65 points might be enough. Arsenal, I think 2-3 years ago, finished 5th on 75. That tells you where it's at.
Wow. Ronan Mehigan. Ronan, how are you? What are at Sujan Shah's thoughts on Mopay and Maddison? Does he still have them, and do they have a future in his lineup? Should we go and ask him? Oh shit, that's me.
You're a funny kind of guy.
I am. Sense of humour, all that.
Well, you spoke about Mopay. So
Mopay's going to Ings.
What's your thoughts on Maddison?
This is a difficult one. I bought Maddison very cheap, 7.2 or something, 7.1, very early. So he hasn't had the biggest increase now. He's 7.6 now, so it's only a couple of points in it, not like Jamie Vardy.
What about if you're like me and you're losing value on him? And do we just generally is there too much in value?
Yeah,
do we take too much? I feel like this is the time of the season.
Really cared about value.
Well, I've maintained for a long time so much value in the game this season. You know, how much I'll pay 8.5 for Trent starting next season. I'll tell you that now. I'm not bothered. What is he, like a couple of points behind Mane?
Yeah.
And Mane's missed, 2 games or something? Fucking hell,
He's
mate.
doing particularly well.
I'll pay for Trent whatever his price is next year. I think at 9 million, that's the point. I would actually ask questions. If Trent's 8.5 million next year, I will buy him. I don't care.
Madison's a hold for me right now.
Do we read...
Madison's a hold because he's still creating chances and he's still in a very attacking Leicester side.
He had 5 chances created again at the weekend. I feel like statistically, yes, he is.
He's still there or thereabouts.
But his returns are not equating to anything at the moment.
No, but they will come in. I think they will come back, whereas
what odds would you have got in Leicester's last 3 fixtures that they'd have 7 returns and Vardy and Maddison wouldn't be involved in any of them?
It'd be crazy.
That's because I fucking own both of them, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about, sort of luck. If you'd have said to me, Leicester are going to score 7 goals in 3 games and you've got Vardy and Maddison, I'd be sitting there going, okay, this is on. It's not happened. You got a Vardy missed penalty in there as well. I'm okay with Maddison at the moment. And that's in spite of going, I might even leave him out at Wolves. I need to think about it. I suspect when it comes round, I won't be leaving James Maddison out. I will probably cut off somewhere else. But I'm happy to wait. I see that there's potential advantages for someone like me in game week 28 at the moment. And they've probably got the best fixture.
Couple of Sheffield United questions, which I'll be interested in your opinion on. Who's the best FPL asset, Stevens or Baldock?
Save me while I'm swallowing. Oh, that's going to come out.
I think Baldock.
I'm glad. What, you deep in?
I think Baldock. I'm deep in thought.
My God, I'm so glad you didn't get on that train there, mate. That's a close call, isn't it?
Yeah.
What prices are they?
Stevens started the season
it's
at 5-1,
is he, Stevens?
Yeah. Baldock, I'm not sure if he's had a rise or not. I don't have it in front
close,
of me.
Really close. I'd go with the cheaper one because that's just fucking me. I don't think there's a lot in it.
Baldock's done all right for me in the Sky games.
Oh, they're both 5-1. And there's Baldock's got 105, Stevens 96 points. Interesting. I think that could very easily flip on one fixture. We highlighted Baldock really early in the season, when there was obviously a lot of attention to Ender Stevens. I think if Ender Stevens had started at 4.5 million, he would have been in so many teams. Baldock, interestingly, he's obviously gone up from 4.5 to 5.1, a kind of disguised progressive rise, still only owned by 11.4%. I'd possibly Baldock.
I've owned Baldock for a while in Sky, and I understand he's had good attacking returns in the last more recent games, which he didn't at the start of the season. But I don't mind a bit of Baldock, to be honest with you.
3 attacking returns for Stevens so far this season. George Baldock with double that, 6.
And
I think one of the reasons for that is, I've said before, O'Connor was more progressive as the overlapping centre half than Basham, which means that when you look at average positions in that, Baldock does tend to be a little bit higher than Ender Stevens. Yeah. It's really, you could toss a coin really though. And is it going to make that much of a difference? Probably not.
No. John at JRD8526. McBurney, a good punt with 3 nice upcoming home fixtures.
I wouldn't go near them offensively other than Fleck.
I'm with you on that. And we got our last question, James, before we do some public service announcements. Is your boy named after a certain Mr. Kane?
No. But ask me again in 10 years.
Why, are you worried Harry Kane might leave?
This is very simple, isn't it? If he pisses off and he turns out to be shit, then no, he wasn't. But if he becomes Tottenham's record goal scorer, he was named after Tottenham's record goal scorer in the same way that I was named after Jimmy Greaves.
Yeah.
That's that's the old story, isn't it? So if he pisses off, then he was just named Harry, wasn't he?
What have we got coming up the rest of this week, James?
We are Tottenham tomorrow. We delve a little bit more into the emotions of our weekends. Spurs' unlikely victory against Manchester City and the West Ham performance against Brighton.
I put it on Twitter. It was a draw that felt like a defeat, but should have been a win.
Well, it would do. And I tell you what I would say, and I meant to say this on Tottenham and didn't. The 2 goals yesterday are the first time I've gone mental in that new stadium. Like, me and Dad nearly went when Bergwijn scored. I thought we were going over, mate. Because people say, what about the Man City Champions League game when Son scored? I didn't really celebrate because I was convinced in that fixture in April that the ball went out of play. And I was so worried about VAR. This was before the fucking Premier League had it.
Yeah.
I was so worried it was going to get disallowed. And these were 2 goals that I absolutely knew were okay. And we lost it. And it was good because I haven't had that since May, obviously in Amsterdam.
Snodgrass's second goal was the same where, I just turned to the guy that sits behind me, and then I only had my son with me. He wouldn't understand that. I said they can check that on VAR if they flip him want to, because I knew that it was so obviously he'd hit it that hard, he was going in. But the first goal with Issa Diop, I waited for VAR, as did he. You saw he scored and then he just trotted over and looked over his shoulder. Is there a flag? Is this getting VAR'd? Wasn't celebrating, but let's not make it VAR. But anyway, so Tottenham tomorrow.
Got to get it out of my game, and it's because of that. Forget everything else.
Hate it.
The emotion of celebrating a goal is being killed.
Correct. We have Sky Fantasy Football on Wednesday. It's mid-overhaul right now, people.
It's essentially probably the most important Sky podcast we'll do this season. I'm up into the top 2,000 now, mate.
Yes, come on. I'm cheering you on because I get 10%. And
I've got no chance of winning it this year. Next year might be different.
And we've got Clash of the Correspondents, as we have alluded to, Everton, Crystal Palace, Sean and Mig on this week, followed by the final plan at the end of the week. Full week of content.
Aye.
Anything else to add, James?
Live show, tickets available.
Manchester, 22nd of February, over 50 people now booked on. So it's going to be lively. 3 weeks to go to get your tickets, just under. If you are in and around the Manchester area, do make your way down to Shack Bar and Grill. We've got the Chelsea Spurs game at 12:30, live show, Ultimate FPL quiz, 5:30 game, Leicester Manchester City, and then we'll be drinking for about 12 hours, and then there'll be boxing at 5 a.m. or something stupid like that. So if you got some stamina, let's do it. Let's make it happen.
If you've got some stamina, it's an 18-hour day, yeah. We will not be out for Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury.
Nah, mate, as soon as the live show and the quiz and all that is done, I'm going to have a 4-hour kip.
To be honest, we're going to do the podcast at 3 o'clock, and I'm meant to be doing this quiz at 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
I'll tell you now, if Chelsea Spurs is stressful, mate, I'll be pissed when we start, mate.
As long as you've written the questions, I can read the questions. That's all you need to do. Prepare it, mate.
No, what we're going to do is I'm going to do the quiz, and you're going to keep everybody informed of what's going on with the football so that people ain't cheating.
Ah, I see what you mean. Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
We can do that.
It's
if you want more of this kind of banter and fun, Manchester live.
We'll have a blast. Just fucking come, God's sakes.
Indeed. Ciao for now. End of another show. See you tomorrow. I'm going to see you next week. See you tomorrow.
We're all week. Cue music, man, child. Love you all.
The Fantasy Football Show.